Love is beautiful, but let's be real, it ain't always easy. We've been through the storms, the highs, the lows, and everything in between.
But through it all, we made a choice again and again. We chose love, we chose commitment, we chose us.
Because marriage isn't just about saying I do, it's about choosing to stay.
Welcome to We Chose Us, because love is worth the fight. What's up, choosers? We back in the building.
Yeah.
Another episode of We Chose Us podcast. It is me, Rob.
And Chris.
And we're so thankful for you all to join us. Now, I think we just crossed over 200 subscribers. Woo! So we need to give a good round of applause for that. Thank you all for joining us. Share, like, subscribe. Y'all know what to do. Let people know about this podcast because we're out here and we're trying to change lives. Because we just want to be transparent and we don't like to see people going through a whole lot of stuff. What's up, Chris? How you doing, baby?
Good. So for today's conversation, it actually is coming from an email that I got.
Okay.
And I'm not going to read the email because I don't want to call anyone out. But one of the main things they said in their message was, me and my husband are not seeing eye to eye again. Anymore. I feel like he's totally a different person. I feel like I'm totally a different person. We've basically have changed careers. We both made major pivots in life. And now with the kids involved, it just feels like they can't get on the same page. And so I felt like this would be good because this kind of speaks to, which is what I love about people watching our podcast, is the amount of messages, inbox, emails, texts you get when you're on your tech talks and things like that. The people who come to you and give their testimony is, I think it's blowing my mind the amount of people who are being reached by what we're talking about and really our story. Right. And my hairstylist recently said it too, that kind of ties into this. She was like, and somebody else actually. So it's like 3 people. And they all 3 said the same thing because this was in the email as well. This is not just a podcast where you all are coaching us. Y'all are telling us your story. Yeah. And that's something that I feel can help me. It's because I'm seeing that I'm not navigating through these challenges by myself. I realize now that I'm not the only one who's struggling, because a lot of people, I think, deal with embarrassment to say that I'm actually going through this. I feel like a bad person because my marriage should be better in comparison to especially what we see on social media. I can't believe that my marriage is failing. But seeing our story, people are like, oh, wait, I'm not the only one, Yeah. And the transparency is huge. So with that being said, I thought this was a great topic because part of our story is that we came from being pastors, for real, yeah. Having a whole church plant to you being in tech. That's a whole pivot. Yeah. That's different. And church plant, pastoring, counseling people, worship service every Wednesday, Sunday. Totally different to not even just pivoting into tech. But it's like you pivot into tech right at the moment that our marriage pivoted as well. Yeah. Which is weird. That seems heavy because it's like, okay, let's deal with our marriage. But we had to deal with marriage and a change, individual change as well, because you became a totally different person. I think there were moments where you even questioned just who you were because you were no longer a pastor. But now you're in tech. And now you're here, you're there. So how would you, just starting off this conversation, speak to individuals who are like, we're not the same? And is that okay? That we're no longer the same people. We no longer desire the same things. Who we were in 2010, that's not who we are in 2025. I desire this and I desire that, because we hear it all the time. She not the same. She not who I married. He not the same. He not who I married. We said that a lot. But is that okay? Can a marriage still be successful after individuals change?
I think you need to change. I think that expecting someone to stay the same and expecting you to stay the same is impossible.
Yeah.
Because life happens, experiences happen, career changes, kids go through different stages. You have different outcomes on your job. I think thinking that life or thinking that your spouse would stay the same, I think that's just not realistic.
Yeah.
Years ago, you and I went to a marriage seminar.
I was gonna say the same thing.
And one of the things that was said, shouts out to Mike and Connie, they said that you get married every day.
Yep.
Marriage is not just a one-time thing.
Right.
You make a decision to get married every single day. And they were talking about how things that they liked when they were in their early 20s, they assumed that the other person still liked it, and here they were in their 40s, and the person was like, I haven't liked that in 15 years, you know, and that caused us to even look at ourselves as well and see how we had changed. I don't think we had really examined that until much later, and I'll give you an example. There was an episode that you and I talked about. We talked about this a little bit 3 or 4 episodes ago, where you're just like, I'm not a touchy-feely person. And I was just like, but yo, like when we met, I remember you were. Like, and it was something that that I thought was cool. And then now it's just kind of like, you're just like, I'm just not this, I'm just not that. That's not the person that I remember.
Right.
Now, am I mad at that? Absolutely not. Because I know it's not anything that I've done or anything that I'm doing. I believe that you're just going through this specific phase in your life or whatever, especially when you got 2 little kids that are always hanging on you and all these different things. Like, I get it and I understand. And, you know, I'm not the same person either with certain things that I do or have done. So I think it should be expected that your spouse is going to change. And if they have new likes, you got to find out what those new likes are. Right. If they have new desires, you have to find out what those new desires are, because some old desires might have changed for whatever reason, whether they have reached their goals or, in the case of this email, it seemed like they had a lot of pivoting that might have gone on both sides. So now with the new pivot, with the new change, the new career direction, there are different conversations that need to be had. You choose to have these conversations, to choose to fall in love and to stay in love, to choose to stay married every single day. Yeah. And so you accept and you welcome the change of the person. And I'm not whoever this is, I'm not talking at you. I'm just talking from our experience as well, is that we made a change. Like, I was 1 billion% in pastor mode when we met. Now, I was in tech. With a B, right? Yep. Now, I was in tech because that's always been kind of like my foundation and stuff like that. But that wasn't my focus. My focus was, all right, gonna start this church, and then soon enough I'm gonna leave this job and we're gonna be in full-time ministry and we're gonna be doing these things. That did not happen. What happened was I left my job, you know, and I got on this job, and I'm fully immersed in tech, doing all these different tech talks and everything. And I have not been in a ministry space as far as preaching across a pulpit in years. I did recently doing a eulogy for a friend's father, and that was the first time I was in a pulpit probably since 2021. And I'm completely different. Like, the essence of me is the same. Like, I'm still Rob. You can still call me Pastor Rob. We can still get into the word, dig deep in the word. Like, I still pray and do all these different things, but I'm not the same person I was. And guess what? That's okay. And she isn't either.
I think that's the key, is knowing that it's okay that you're not the same. You know, like, something I had to realize, you know, with you and I, was that I had to embrace the change. And that's something that we really don't want to do. But I thought about it this way. I'm like, let's say you get a divorce, right? More than likely, people want to remarry. They want love. I mean, I mean, that's embedded in us, right? Through Christ. We want love, right? We hunger for relationships. That's who we are. That's who we were created as human beings to be, right? Together as one, male, female, right? But I think, when we hunger for that, I think we overthink things, because let's just say the reason for leaving is because you and your spouse are different, or really your spouse is different, because that's essentially what it's about. It's not just you per se, but it's like, oh, I don't know who he or she is. This is not who I married. But when you go meet somebody else, isn't that a new person?
That's a new person.
Like, you're gonna have to go through the same
thing.
Like, why not get to know or learn again who the person you're already in covenant with? Who the person you're already married to, who the person you already rocking with. Why not just say, I'm going to take the time to get to know you? And I get it, because sometimes I think individuals feel like they also outgrow their spouse, right?
Yeah, they do. Like,
they feel like they on a whole nother level now. They think different. They desire different things, and their spouse is, still in 2010, and I done evolved, and I'm on a whole nother level. But have you, and I'm speaking like even from myself, because I think when it came to ministry and having a church, when you phased out, I felt like I had outgrew you, because ministry was my end all be all at that point.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, I'm on a whole nother level. See, I'm all about this pastor thing, and he phased out. He's somewhere just depressed and depleted, right? And so you get kind of like this cockiness of like, man, and I ain't never said I want to marry no pastor. Like, that was never like, get a divorce and I want to marry a whole pastor. No. It was just kind of like, you get into this space where you're like, I just need somebody to see the vision like I see the vision. I need somebody to go in the direction in which I'm going in. I need somebody to really, link arms with me and have the drive like I have the drive. And I remember when it was around the time where I really started taking on the church, and you were just kind of like, I'm good, hands dusted. I really can't do much. Right. And I remember saying it to myself, see, I need somebody with some drive. I need somebody, who ready to go get it, But realistically, it's like, if we're married, it's not about stepping out or desiring. In a way, let me say this. I think so often we desire this image instead of just seeing a person for who they are and believing that they will evolve in who they are. That makes sense? Because if I gave you an opportunity, which I did, to evolve into who God called you to be, then you became that person of drive. But it wasn't the pastor who I had envisioned you to be. It was the person in tech.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And so if I would have closed myself to you, then I would have never known the capacity for which God could grow you or carry you. Because to me, you were different. This is not who again, we go through that. We go through that whole list. It's not who I married. This is not who I believe God for. This is not who I envisioned to be my husband or my spouse. This is not what I expected. And then we compare our marriages to social media. Because social media, we see all these power couples and all of these people birthing all these $1 million businesses, or we even see pastors, pastoring these prosperous churches, look like they ain't never had no problem in their life. We compare our lives to that. And so instead of giving the person an opportunity to grow, or even giving yourself an opportunity to grow, we rather part ways because this isn't it. Yeah. This isn't what I expected. And it goes back to what we just said in our previous episode is, these are silent wars. We're warring within ourselves into believing that this can't be God because it's not aligning the way that I see all these other godly people kind of walking out their lives. But it's like, what did God call you to do?
Yeah.
What did God call your marriage to become? Who did God call you and your spouse to be? Not what you saw on social media, but who are you?
You remember that lady? We went to therapy, and that lady was like, he may never be Obama.
She did.
We went to therapy, y'all. This was crazy. She said that I was I was limited, I guess, right? Or I had peaked, and that I would never be Obama. Now, she had some infatuation with Obama, clearly, because I'm sitting here like, I ain't never said I wanted to be no Obama. You know what I'm saying? I don't never, like, okay. Like, and then now, of course, now you hear all this stuff or whatever, like, and Obama and Michelle talk about how the challenges that they have and stuff like that. So now you want me to be somebody who clearly, his wife said there was some issues and there were some challenges there. So you was looking at a facade yourself. You know what I'm saying? And the thing that frustrated me about it was like, man, like, lady, you didn't even ask my wife to explore, to meet me, to see who I was. Like you say, the tech side of me is different. And that's the grinder, or that's the quote unquote Obama that maybe, you know, you're looking for. But she basically capped me off and just like, he's just reached the peak of whatever he's going to be, and you just going to have to accept it. And I thought that was really, really, that was really demotivating as well, because you're sitting here like, dang, so you feel like I can't change? You feel like there is nothing better for me? You feel like this is it, you know? And my whole thing was, you know, don't limit me because you don't know me, and understand that everybody has the opportunity to change and be better.
Or don't limit me from a chapter in my life.
Right.
It's not the end of my story.
Right.
And I think we do that so often when we feel like we've outgrown our spouse, or maybe my spouse is different or changed. It's just a chapter. Because honestly, I told you that's why I stayed in the game. I was like, we might be on chapter 5, but I'll be mad if on chapter 10 I done left, and chapter 10 is what I prayed for and somebody else reaping the harvest. I'm gonna be mad. You know what I mean? But it's only because we're not willing to stick with the story. We just want to be out. And it's not even be out. We want to shut down. Because sometimes it's not divorce. Sometimes it just comes in the form of a shutdown. Like, and then that's when infidelity sneaks in. And that's when we get into this place where, you know, others are sleeping in different bedrooms and just kind of becoming roommates or business partners. Because authentically, we're not giving our spouse a chance to grow or to evolve. Because honestly, I thought the church for us was the end all be all.
Yeah, me too.
Like, that was it. We were going to retire from the church. That was the vision. So I had to go through personal therapy when we closed the church for all of that. How do I navigate now not pastoring when I thought that this is what we were called to do? How do I navigate now knowing that my husband may not ever pastor? How do I navigate now understanding who he is now without this church? Because that's all I knew. Because when we had gotten married, that's the first thing we did was launch the church. Yeah. So all I knew in a husband was the pastor. So it was like, okay, and then what do I do when it comes to church? Because the church was our church. And what about the people who are calling, still wanting me to be their pastor? You know what I mean? It was so much I had to go through therapy personally to overcome. And part of it was really understanding that all that I built up in my mind for you to be or become may not ever happen.
Yeah.
And that was being this, okay, because my prayers, which is crazy, now that I think about it, my prayers were like, Lord, you know, ignite the fire to call in him again, you know? Yeah, like, no, for real. It was like, you know, pull that zeal out of him, make him, you know, pull him into the position of pastor. I declare, you know, that he realized and recognized who he's called to be. I bind the devil that told him he wasn't supposed to pastor. He heard, you know, like, I mean, but instead I heard God say, shift your prayers. He said, shift your prayers. He said, stop praying based off of what you see or saw. Stop praying based off of what you saw. Pray just simply for you, for Rob. That was it.
Yeah.
And I stopped praying for particular things. And I just said, God, may he just yield to you. May you just lay your hand and rest your presence upon him. It was just simple prayers like that. All that extra that I was like, I declare the authority of pastor. you know, I don't know what I mean. It was deep. I mean, the anointing. That's what it was. It was the anointing. But no, I did say the authority. I said the authority of pastor. May he recognize his authority as pastor. That's what it was. And then I said, may the anointing be illuminated on him. I mean, all of it. And I just, you know, and I was tripping all over my prayers. And I'm not a person to trip over prayer, but I was just like, it was almost like it was forced. So that's when I knew it wasn't God, because I've always been a person to pray according to the Spirit of God. God, I don't want to I need your Holy Spirit to pray through me. I don't want to just be out here just, you know, saying whatever just to be heard or seen. I want your Spirit to literally be in alignment with what my mouth is saying. And I remember when I would pray those specific things for you, I mean, I remember I was just stumbling, like, look, just trying to find things. Like, I don't know how else to pray for a pastor, you know, who was my husband. And God said, because you ain't praying right. That ain't what I asked you to pray for. When I asked you to pray for him, I want you to pray for him. Not rob the pastor, not even rob your husband, not even rob the dad. I need you to pray for Rob, my son.
Yeah.
And that's when my prayers changed. And that's when I allowed the Holy Spirit to speak through me. And that's when I began to see you for who you really are. Not pastor, not the dad, not husband, not the one who, you know, bamboozled me. Surprise, it's me. Not any of that. Right. But literally,
Meddling kids.
Right. But I was able to see you.
Yeah.
And that, I think, was eye-opening for me, because it was like, I had never seen him in that light before. I've never seen you in a space of clarity. It's always been depression. It's always been pressure. It's always been heaviness, but I've never seen you for you. And God says, now that you've relinquished control to me, just allow me to take over. And wherever I lead, just let me lead. And literally, when you entered into tech, it was like, oh, snap. Who it is? Where did this confidence come from? Where did this boldness come? All the things that I, quote unquote, were praying for. That's what began to kind of be revealed. And that's what God began to like kind of illuminate on your life, was all of this certainty and this confidence, like I said. And it was like, really, because I remember that was one thing I was praying for. Like, why he ain't confident? Because, child, no, I can't deal with no insecure man. Like, literally, that was going through my mind. And so I would pray specifically for those things. And God was like, you got to give him to me. And you went into tech, and it was like, who it is? Mm-hmm. Even with your tech talks, it was different than ministry. Ministry, it seemed like you would question yourself. You felt like, it almost felt like you weren't sure. But when you do your tech talks, it's like, hello? Who is this? But I think it's partly because I allowed you to be you and change and evolve. And I didn't shut the door because you didn't become this great mega pastor that I expected you to be. It was like, no, if this is the life, God, that you laid out for us, may it be so. And whatever else you have next, because life with you is fulfilling. And that's where I believe that God desires his children to be, is connect with me and experience true fulfillment, even in the changes, even in the highs, the lows, the pivots, even when the major shifts and transformations. You've got to trust me and watch me navigate.
I was thinking as you were talking, we did not plan at all for our lives, like you said, to be where it is. And I think for me, I feel so good now that I don't know what tomorrow or next year or the next 10 years are going to bring.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's a wide open canvas. Mm-hmm. Back when we were pastoring, it did feel like, all right, this is it. And we just, this is it. This is all it's ever going to be. Mm-hmm. And it felt like it was limiting. It felt like it was, it didn't feel like there was any like freedom or anything like that attached. And not to say that that's what pastors and you know, that they go through, but for me, when we left, I just felt like you said, like a sense of clarity, like just like, oh man, there's a world out there.
There's life after this.
There's life after this. Yeah, there's a world out there. Like the world didn't end when we closed the church. And now I don't have to feel like I got to fit in with so and so over here that got a building and I ain't get a building yet. I ain't got to run over there and they got this many people and then we only going into church and only a few people here. Like I don't feel that anymore, that pressure, because that's what it was. A lot of that was just like pressure to be somebody else and not be me. Yeah. When I jumped over in tech, I was able to be me, you, 100%. Yeah. And a lot of the things that I learned as a pastor, I do over here on the tech side, and I think it's really, really impactful. Yeah. But just the idea that I'm not the same person that I was. I am confident now. If you shoot,
yeah. Honey, listen.
Yeah. What? Oh, Lord,
okay. I'm not gonna say it because I don't want to call nobody out. But so last week. Because you got to give it. We always got to tag in a little story. I ain't gonna say it. But
what I do last week?
Anyway, last week he comes in. He say, well, he saw somebody, and, and I'm gonna tell y'all, Pastor Rob, he talking about I only dropped like a couple of F-bombs, but let me tell you what he do. He Joan. He will roast. Okay. And so he come in last week and he said somebody tried to holler at him that looked like a box Chevy. And he like, man, I'm just glad I look good because that was a whole box Chevy. And I'm like, bruh.
Ain't no box Chevys around here, fam.
But talk about confidence though, because now you... Can't tell you nothing, old big head.
Man, listen, ain't no box Chevy right here.
Talk about changes. Oh no, totally different.
But I always say I get it from you. I'm
not vain.
No, you're not vain, but I'm saying you put together.
Yeah, but I don't be out here talking about I look good, calling folks box Chevys and Capris and Impalas. I ain't.
What Jasmine Crockett say? Beach blonde, bad built butch body.
Yeah, we're not doing. I ain't calling folks. But you straight be on your whole little, I look good. I look fly. I look good. Walk past the mirror about 20 times. It'd be like, listen, this is not. I know we said this before in the episode, but I got to lay on this. This is not the same Rob. You done went from Rob to Robbio.
Really? Robbio. Listen. I'm confident and comfortable who I am now.
Right.
And I know, but listen though, I do have you to attribute some of that though, because you never let me stay low or stay in a bad space, even though you knew I was dealing with depression and stuff like that. Like I remember telling you, like, man, I don't have it in me to find certain clothes, to figure out my style, and you would, be helping me with different things and always reminding me, and so a lot of those things I do attribute to you, because I think there's a lot of things that you saw in me of what I could be that I didn't see in myself. And, I thank you for that as well, and I get a little vain sometimes. Like I know I do. But again, I'm not the same person I was. Yeah. I'm not. And it's funny because people will try to put you to make you be the same person you was 10, 15, 20 years ago. They will. And it's like, no, partner, that ain't me no more. And you got a new me, you got a confident me, you got a me who will definitely speak his mind. You got a me that will definitely speak up when I feel like I'm being trampled on. You got a me that is more confident in his relationship with God now, which people would think is odd. Like, how are you more confident and comfortable with God now than when you was a pastor? Because he didn't throw me away.
Yeah.
That's the thing. He didn't throw me away.
Yeah.
I found, excuse me, I found a new relationship in him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because of that, you know, that's where a lot of the confidence and the boldness comes.
Yeah. Yeah. You need some water?
No, I think I'll be good.
Okay. Make sure.
Sorry.
But yeah, no, seriously. Like, I mean, I think that is the key, because God loves us no matter the season. Right. And as you said something there. You was like, God didn't throw me away. Man, that's so good. Because why are we so quick to throw people away?
Right.
Why are we so quick to turn our back on changes? Why? Like, I think about it this way, because we tend to teach our children based off of biblical principles, and not even just really biblical principles, but really the way, the character of Jesus, right? Kind of how Jesus responds to certain things and how he loves us. And I never thought about it this way when we were kind of going through our challenges, but I would never want God to displace me because I was going through a change.
Yeah.
Or I was at one of my lowest moments, or I was going through moments of uncertainty and challenges, or the battle was too big for me that I just completely quit. I would never want God to just leave me. And I think about it that if our marriages are built on the foundation of who he is, why do we so quickly do the opposite of what he would do?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that is so, because as people, you're going to change, you're going to grow, you're going to kind of literally become totally different than who you were back in like high school and so forth. Like there's no, like I have people now who are, I mean, and yes, you have to, but I have people now who are kind of pretty much the same as they were in high school.
That's scary.
And so it's almost like some people are stuck to kind of this space of I'm me and I'm gonna always be me, you know. And it's like, but the you who never grows,
yeah,
the you who never evolves or matures or develops, like at some point you have to like transform. You have to evolve. You have to grow. And even in growth, what I've realized is that sometimes we become totally different people. And we don't like the things we used to like. You remember that time? Y'all thought I liked pink all the time? And then, and then in this particular moment, I said I like yellow.
Yeah. No, I'm getting well, you ain't like no yellow.
But I did like yellow. I had yellow nails. But see, y'all didn't give me an opportunity to evolve. But no, seriously, I'm just saying, like, little details, desires, all those things tend to change. And then I think the point that I'm making is, I think the challenge is not that I don't want you to change, is now that I can't identify with your change.
Yeah.
So where I thought I knew you and where I thought I was connected to you, now I feel like I don't even know you.
Yeah.
And that's scary.
Yeah.
I think that's the whole point. It's like, that's scary. Because how dare you like something, and I always thought you liked Jamaican food. How dare you all of a sudden you don't like Jamaican food? Like that, it's almost like it comes with a level of embarrassment, internal embarrassment. And those are those silent wars too. Because internally now I'm questioning who I am as a wife or as a husband, because I don't know my spouse.
Yeah.
I'm surprising my spouse with, Jamaican food, or I'm surprising my spouse with all of these things that I know that he or she likes. And then all of a sudden they're looking at me like, I don't like that. Well, you've always liked this. When all of a sudden you don't like this? And it challenges a person, because now I don't know you.
Yeah. And
now we're separated, and it's like our intimacy is challenged, because now I can't get into you like I want to, because I'm not sure if I really know you.
Right.
So I think it's not even just hey, I don't want to deal with the differences, it's kind of scary because it's like, what's going to happen next?
Yeah.
Do you even like me? Are you still in love with me? Like, who is this new person? Because that all comes in phases. You have the food changes, then the hair changes, and dressing different changes, and it almost starts feeling like, are you cheating on me?
Yeah.
You trying to please somebody else? And I think all of those build uncertainty,
That stuff comes out,
and
yeah.
that causes a wedge in a marriage.
Yeah. And it's funny because I think why not? Like, what do you have to lose to get to know this new person?
Right.
You still have the privilege of being married, and so it's not like you're going out and having to date again or something like that, like from the very first time and meeting somebody that you realize that you never wanted to see another day in your life. No, this is someone that you married. This is someone who the essence of them is probably still pretty much the same, but they do have new desires, new goals, new dreams, and all these different things. Why not get to know this person? Why not let this person know who you are, that you don't like this anymore? Why not, when you guys go out on a date, try to find something new, try to find something different? You always go to the beach. Why not try to go to the mountains? You always go to the mountains. Why not try to go out on the beach? Why don't you try a road trip? You're always flying, all these different places. Like, there are different things that you can try, and it's okay. Like, the biggest thing is when people change, that's okay.
Right.
That's 1,000% okay. I really would think something was wrong if you were the same Chris from 2011 when we first met, all the way to today. I really would think something is wrong.
But I think even you had to adjust to my change too.
Oh yeah.
Because you would say things like, you're more outspoken now. That's not.
Yeah, you was doing this.
I was not. But you would say, like, all the time, you was like, you're more verbal. That's not who I don't know if it was a compliment or not quite sure, but it was something you pinpointed as a change, and you had to adjust to it because you were looking at me like, who is this? Like, what is happening? And I can appreciate, taking the time to adapt to me, and it wasn't disrespectful, it was just a new me. And I think it was a newfound confidence that I began to build when I went through therapy and had to go back through my childhood healing and things like that. And I think when that confidence kind of settled in, it was like, boom, here we go, And I think it also, turning 40 was just like, I don't care. Like,
fact.
I ain't about to walk around with all this weight, all this heaviness. Like, you about to know right now what's going on, But I think it's growth, and that's what it is. And I can say, like, you have to give people room to grow, because you never know who they'll become. And they may become what you prayed for even before you got married. Because I feel like when we get married, we get a fraction of a person that we were believing God for. And we're like, we love this person, so we're with them. But as they grow, what if it's just like, God's like, I'm going to build and build and build until you're completely fulfilled with even more than what you prayed for. Ephesians 3:20. I'm going to give you super abundantly more. I'm going to outdo your prayer requests, your wildest dreams, your greatest imagination. And so if you allow me to grow this person, then I'll give you even more than what you prayed for in a spouse.
I remember, I don't know if you remember this or not, but when we had our engagement party, there were a bunch of folks that were kind of like giving us their advice or giving us well wishes. And the camera had landed on my parents, and the question was asked, like, if there's any advice you can give them, what would you give them? And my parents said, respect and compromise. And at the time, when you think compromise, you think, oh, I'm just going to give in a little and they're going to give in a little. You don't think the major changes as being a part of that compromise, right? But the thing is, compromise is being able to go through life together and change and still compromise to still be on the same pathway, to still be together and recognize and realize we aren't the same people that we were. And these are my parents who are literally in a couple of weeks about to get into year 57, 55, I think, or 56, something like that. So listening to them and hearing out of everything that you could have possibly given for advice, anything, always treat it right, happy wife, happy life, all these different things, right? No, it's respect
and compromise.
And compromise.
So good.
That's how we made it this far. And because of that, I believe that that's how we're continuing to last and we're continue to grow, because we always respect each other. We always compromise. And no matter what the changes are, you know, we rocking with it. You know, we try to rock with it. I could have an idea, you could have an idea, it don't work. All right, well, let's start over and do something else. It's not a I'm gonna hold you to it and all these different things, and you always got all these ideas and they never work out and stuff like that. It's not that. It's just kind of like, all right, that didn't work. What's next? What are we doing next? Because we're doing this life together.
As we close, like, question, because this is something that I feel fits into how much you have grown and transition. Like, what advice could you offer to someone who is, one, you know, feeling as if they're in a marriage where their spouse is, you know, changed and just kind of become a totally different person, or two, where they feel they've outgrown their spouse and their spouse is, you know, they feel like they're lagging behind, right? Like, I'm even thinking about something that I would have never thought for you, right? You're currently doing flight lessons. Never would have thought in a million years that that's something you would do as a hobby, right? But the pastor that I was praying for, I don't know if he would be able to eventually put us on a plane and fly us to Savannah or something for dinner, you know? But you would be, you know what I mean? And just, you know, thinking of where they are right now, saying, hey, you know, I've outgrown my spouse. I don't see that drive. What would you say as a person who was in that space where it looked like this is the end? I don't see how I can navigate forward. What would you say to them as the person who is kind of representing that spouse, that change, that transformation, and that person who they feel is behind?
I said this a few episodes ago, and this is probably going to be something that I'm going to stick with. Is never judge someone at their lowest moment. Everybody's always better than their lowest moment. And you could be in a place, whoever you are, that could be dealing with something where you feel like you've outgrown your spouse. I challenge you to get to know the new spouse. Hello, my name is, good to meet you. That type, get to know. And that means that, and it's not like getting a checklist and trying to find, like, do you like, you know, like you don't like pink anymore, you like yellow, you know, and all these different things. Not like that, but in a sense of, in your conversations, in the sense of your family time, and that, you know, hey, what's new in your life? Like, she knew that I wanted to fly planes, but she didn't know that I would go this far to actually get flight lessons. You know what I'm saying? Like, the best gift that you had got me was for Father's Day was to get me a flight lesson, which I thought was like really cool, like an introductory flight lesson. But that didn't carry over. This was what, like 8 years ago that you did that, to carrying over to now where, like, I'm studying to become a pilot.
You never know.
And those are the different things that are being uncovered. Like, you gotta understand that we're not just one layer people.
That's good.
There are multiple layers. There are multiple desires. You have people that have dreams, visions, ideas that don't even come into fruition until they're in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s.
That's so true.
You know, the moment that you stop dreaming, I think that's the part where they say you start dying. because you feel like you've done everything and you feel like, there's nothing left for you. But the whole idea, and this is for you yourself, now look at your spouse and think the same thing. There are things that they desire in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s that they never desired before.
Yeah.
And my thing is, why don't you get to know that person and see what they like, see what they want to do, see what it is, and find out that, and then share the things that you like that's different as well. I don't think it's really that hard. I think we make things really hard when we feel like, well, they're not the same anymore. You and I used to argue about that all the time. And you used to say, Rob, you're not the same. And I'm like, you're not the same either.
Right.
And we would be stuck like in
right
that.
There. Arguing about the same thing.
Arguing about the same thing. But then we realize, you know what? It is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave because she not, because now all of a sudden she's more vocal. You know what I'm saying? Like, or am I just going to be like, all right, she's more vocal.
Let's compromise and figure out how to navigate.
Try to figure out. Like, I'm not going to change my whole life structure just because I'm different and you're different. Find a way back to each other.
Yeah. Find
a way to grow back with each other. Because you can say all day long that person has changed, but I know you've changed too.
Absolutely.
And there are certain things that you used to do that you just don't do anymore.
Yeah.
You may be more wise, or you just may just not do it anymore. So what? Like,
yeah.
we're layered. That's all I keep thinking about, is that we're layered people. And you peel back layers, and when you peel back layers, you find out something new that maybe you've never seen before, and you got to give yourself the opportunity to fall in love with that person, that new person that you're uncovering.
Yeah, that's good. And I think, when you said that, it's like the Holy Spirit just, dropped this in my heart. Comparison can be the thief to compromise.
Yeah.
Because where you're trying to compromise, comparison can keep you out of that space of wanting to kind of meet your spouse where they are, because looking at what everybody else has or what everyone else is doing, it's like it builds anxiety within you to want that now, rather than to meet your spouse where they are and walk with them, with God through this. It's like, no, I need what I see now. I need what is this feeling like? I'm missing something, and you're only missing what you're measuring your life to.
Yeah.
And one thing, like I remember used to always preach this, like, people are only going to show like the highlight reels of their life. No one will ever show the behind the scenes. And we're seeing that now as we have launched this podcast, is the messages we're getting. I'm looking at their Instagram like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
This looks totally different than what you messaged here, going through divorce. But the Instagram looks like they have the happiest marriage on earth. And I mean, like, currently.
Yeah.
And so you can't compare so much that you negate compromising, because you want what you see other people have at this moment. So you're so ready to walk away thinking you're going to obtain what they have, not realizing that you have it at home. You're just not willing to work through it.
Yeah.
And you're not willing to link on with God and allow him to help you navigate through it. And that's real. And I think we, especially now in the world we live in, we're in a right now world. Like, I need this right now. I got to travel out the world right now. I need this type of marriage right now. I need this bag right now. I need, this many followings right now. I need this business right now. I need, like Kyler say, I need a Bugatti right now. That's our son. He swear he need a Bugatti. But but that's the world we live in, is I need it now. And if I don't have it, then something's wrong with my life. And that's the problem. And it's the same with marriage. If I don't have this, then something's wrong with my marriage. Something's wrong with my spouse. Why are you not leveling up here, standing on this stage and talking about his big business? And he over here still working a 9 to 5. It's crazy.
I'm glad you said it. And because that was a gripe that I had with you for a minute, was social media and stuff that you would see on social media that I felt like you were comparing me to. Okay. And because there was one thing, and I had no idea. I had no idea what a push present was at all.
Oh.
And you got mad at me because I didn't get you a push present. And I said, what the heck is a push present? Never heard of it a day in my life. And then all of a sudden, all these women who had kids or whatever, they spouses were buying them push presents. And I was like, how are you comparing me to people that I don't even know what this is?
Yeah. You know what it was? A silent war.
Yeah.
Like we talked about. I wasn't happy in our marriage. So I'm looking for something. Like I wasn't happy. So I'm going to go and compare. And the thing about comparison is it's magnified when you're unhappy.
Yeah, it is. It is.
You know what I mean? Like that thing is huge when you're searching for something, when you're missing something. And that's what it was. I wanted every little thing because I was so unhappy. And I was forcing these things into our marriage because to me they equate to happiness.
Yeah.
But it wasn't real.
Yeah.
But in those moments, we think it's real. We think that if I get this, then, oh, man, I got the man and I can say, look what my man did. But if it's not genuine or authentic, you may get a push present and still be over there unhappy. Yep. You may get the trip and still be unhappy. You may get all of these little things that you think you need, but they're just fillers. But it's not fulfillment.
Yeah.
And fulfillment comes with the work, the trusting God, the getting on your face and praying and literally believing God to elevate, grow, develop, heal, bring your marriage in alignment with his will. That takes work. Yeah. It don't take a push present. It don't take a quick social media picture. That takes work. But that's what we don't want. We want what we see. We want all the kissing and stuff on social media. My boo thing, look at my baby, and we look at our home crying because this ain't what I got. God forgot about me. He missed me. God, why did I get into this? And God's like, you have that. You just need to trust me to grow it, to develop it.
Yeah.
And don't believe that they got it all. That's a camera.
That's a camera. That's a camera. And that's 30 takes.
So sit down and do the work.
Oh, sat down and do the work.
But no, seriously, trust God. Again, I can't say that enough. And I know that is something that we've just kind of chopped up as that's something folks say, trust God. But no, I know that's something I literally had to do. And it's one of the hardest things to do is to blindly trust God when you don't know the outcome. You don't know what's going to happen. You may feel as if it's a waste of time. You may feel as if this thing is going to fall apart at any moment. And trusting God may lead me into another pit of failures because I already been there, done that. So I don't want to trust him again because I feel like if I do, then I'm going to be back where I was. And it's hard.
Yeah.
But instead of saying all of those things, just say, God, I'm just going to trust you. I know I failed before, but I trust you to carry me forward. I know that things didn't work out the way that I expected them to work out, but I trust you carry me forward. I know that things are hard and I know they're tough and I don't know what's going to happen, but I trust that you will carry me forward and believe that no matter what, God will carry you through.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, that wraps up another episode. This one was good. Y'all stay tuned. Again, thank you so much for choosing to sit with us and for choosing in your life, right? So we appreciate you guys so much. And we will see you all on the next one.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Love is beautiful, but let's be real. It ain't always easy. We've been through the storms, the highs, the lows, and everything in between.
But through it all, we made a choice again and again. We chose love. We chose commitment. We chose us.
Because marriage isn't just about saying I do. It's about choosing to stay.
Welcome to We Chose Us, because love is worth the fight.